Hi, my name's Selena, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do a coffee enema. First of all, a little bit of history about the coffee enema, then I'll explain to you how I set up my bathroom, how you prepare the coffee, and finally how you lay yourself down to do a coffee enema. It's advised to first flush out your colon just with a water enema, 8 to 16 ounces, just to release feces so that it doesn't get reabsorbed back into the system. Now here's a bit of history on the coffee enema. The coffee enema, the Egyptians were the first recorded civilization to use the techniques. Babylonians and Assyrians also did enemas. In 400 BC, Hippocrates was recorded to be using the therapy for fever therapy. Historical references to colon hydrotherapy and enemas can be found in the Essene documents as well. It's reported that they were used on the Ivory Coast. Oh, there was actually a colonics row in the United States where you would go to get a colonic on Beverly Boulevard in California and that was in the 1950s. So coffee enemas are nothing to be afraid of. They're perfectly normal and natural. It's like cleaning your gutter. If you had a house, you would clean the gutters. You have a body, you clean the gutter. It's that simple. So nothing to be afraid of. They're beneficial. And if you're concerned about if you're sensitive to coffee or caffeine, you don't get jittery at all because the delivery system is different. A lot of people report that they relieve a lot of pain and they actually bliss you out. So here's some information on what it is that the coffee enema does. The purpose of the coffee enema is to clean the body. The purpose of the enema is to remove toxins accumulated in the liver and to remove free radicals from the bloodstream. Caffeine travels the hemorrhoidal vein and the portal system to the liver and opens up the bile ducts and allows the liver to release bile, which contains toxins. It's also a place where parasites put eggs, FYI. The theobromine and the theophylline and the caffeine in the coffee dilate the blood vessels and the bile ducts, relax smooth muscles, and increase bile flow. Doctors at the University of Minnesota showed that coffee administered to mice also stimulates the enzyme system in the liver called glutathione S-transferase. What happens is that the S-transferase is raised in the bloodstream by 600 to 700%. Free radicals, which cause damage to the cells and the body, are neutralized. Then the substances are excreted through the intestinal tract, and this is done through the release of the bile flow from the liver and the gallbladder. A Gerson patient holds a coffee enema for 12 to 15 minutes, and during this time, the body's entire blood supply passes through the liver 4 to 5 times, carrying poisons picked up from the tissues. The enema acts as a form of dialysis for the blood across the gut wall. So that's what a coffee enema does. This is my kettle used for boiling in water and reheating coffee that I've stored in these 8-ounce jars. And then I also use it for just plain water enemas, or if I'm doing other enemas, just to heat. It helps to bring the water to body temperature. And of course, what we use is reverse osmosis water or distilled water for the enema, because our own regular water that we get out of the tap has too much fluoride and pathogens and other things in it. What I'm going to start off with is, I'm going to just grind up these coffee beans, and like I said, they're blonde, medium roast, and I'm going to prepare for 2 enemas. So one's going to go into this jar. Sometimes I just leave it in my Bodum, and like I said, I use a Bodum because it's a familiar, beautiful, for people who are used to having coffee every morning. It's just a familiar ritual, and it's a good way to strain the coffee. It's perfect, and it's easy to pour. And I just do 2 enemas, or if you do 3 enemas a day, then you can just keep 2 mason jars full, and you strain out the last one into your bucket. So anyway, so 3 heaping tablespoons of coffee per enema. And what I'm just doing is creating a concentrated solution that I'll then dilute with boiled water at the time that I want to do an enema, or I'll dilute with cool water or cold water in the fridge that I've stored in the fridge that's also reverse osmosis. And so that's how I just try to make the process more convenient and efficient, because I'm not trying to make work or make this, and that's 6, or make this, into more work than it has to be. So this is my way of simplifying the process. So what I do is I grind up the coffee, and I don't buy a pre-ground coffee. Gerson says you can buy the pre-ground coffee, but I'm sure it's fine at the clinic, but I prefer fresh coffee. And in all of what I've read with the Gerson therapy, they tend to say that when you fresh grind the beans, then they tend to, all of the oils and the properties are more pronounced, and they're preserved as well. So it's a lot stronger. So that's why you grind it. A lot of times I shake it because to me it just evens out the grind. I want it really powdery as I can get it, because I don't want grains in it. So you see that's nice and powdery. So I'm just pour it in. Now I tend to stir it in a bit. I'm also drinking my juice, because you have to have 3 cups of juice for every single enema that you do. And this is to help to maintain your electrolyte balance, but it's not only for that. The juice has all of these obviously synergistic properties that work together to detoxify your cells and assist your body in healing disease. So it's not enough to just go and get some magnesium and potassium or Gatorade and say, hey, I'm good. No, this juice is full of enzymes. So now I'm just going to show you how I set up my bathroom as we wait for the coffee to boil. So as you can see, this is my bathroom, and basically I've set things up in a very specific way to prevent cross-contamination or recontamination. I invite friends over and stuff, and they use my bathroom, and so I'm trying to keep as healthy an environment and pleasant as possible, because this is where a large part of my healing is taking place. So as you can see here on the counter, I have mainly just cleaning supplies. So some of the natural cleaning solutions that I use include MMS, which I make and put in this tiny spray bottle mixed with water that I spray everything with. I'll spray my entire bathroom, all my bathroom surfaces. I'll use it to clean my toilet, and I'll use it to clean the floor after I'm done everything. I know this is sort of wasteful, but I use a Swiffer. I spray the MMS all over the floor. I just Swiffer it all over the floor and leave the room. And then it dries up. I use Trader Joe's tea tree oil soap because it has tea tree oil in it, or I use Castile soap. To spray the air, I will mix tea tree oil into a spray bottle. Then I use peppermint oil or MMS to fill up this atomizer, so the air is continually being cleaned. Sometimes I put thieves oil in. And the vent is on so that, we're hopefully maintaining a more sanitary environment. And it just makes things more pleasant, because what's in the toilet bowl is not necessarily that pleasant. So now that this is finished boiling, I'm going to take my mason jar. Well, first I'll get my Bodum, which makes things so much easier because the straining and thing and the cleaning it and all that, my head ain't able. I can't do it. So this is simpler, for me anyway. So I just pour the coffee into here, and I'm making a concentrated solution. I'm preparing for myself here. So then I'll fill the mason jar. See, and this. With approximately half the solution, because there's about an inch of grounds in there. So, and then the rest of it I will use for my enema bucket. So it just keeps things a lot simpler. See how this lovely filter works so that I don't have to do any additional straining, and I can just rinse this off and then throw it in the dishwasher to sterilize it later. So now I can store this in the fridge, and in the morning I can just add some boiled water to it to dilute the solution, heat it up, and a bit of room temperature water just to get it to my body temperature. And oftentimes this will have some silt in the bottom of it once it's been sitting in the fridge. And generally when I fill the enema bucket the next day, I leave the silt in the bottom. So what we're going to do is, you see I have the enema bucket here. It's on its own. And generally what I do is I use a plastic bucket just because I like to be able to see the enema draining without having to look and peek inside. And a glass one I'm concerned about breaking. And as well, they have these little things on the side so you can just clip it on. I may get a black glass one though if I can find one that's I don't feel like I'll break. The metal ones are pretty durable too. But anyway, so these are disposable. I'm not totally comfortable with the plastic, but it's what I've been using so far. So like I said, I have my reservations about the glass. Maybe I'll change my mind. So you keep the clamp closed, and notice I'm not putting this on my counter or anywhere. I might put it on a magazine beside the counter or something, but I'm trying to avoid putting it on the counter. It's just me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the coffee solution in here, and usually fill up about 2/3 of the way, and that again is about half of my solution. And then it's usually a 32-ounce enema that you're going to do. So I like the measurements on here. So I will add water in there for the remainder because it's quite warm. You wouldn't be able to use it at the temperature it's at. So now I'm just going to add some water. And so I'm going to add a bit of Himalayan salt as well because it helps to hold the enema. Gerson doesn't recommend it, but Gerson didn't have Himalayan salt around. They were dealing with a lot of issues with sodium back in the day. So salt is actually a supplement if it's sea salt or Himalayan salt, not the sodiums that are created by big commercial companies. So it just helps you to retain the enema. So I'm just going to add a little bit just to scrump, and then I'll meet you in the bathroom. Let's get started with the enema. So the first thing we're going to do is what I call priming the enema. It's sort of like priming a pump. What you do is you release some of the solution, the coffee solution, into the water. You see it's flowing through, and you're emptying into there. So now it's ready to go. You're not going to be pushing any air into your body. So now I just set it on here. It's just like a CD stand that I have. But the best height for an enema to be at for a good even flow is 15 to 18 inches is what Gerson recommends. You can put it on the edge of your bathtub. As I said, I do my enemas on the floor. I don't like to do them in the bathtub. Some people feel better about that it's easier to clean up, but I just don't like the idea of cross-contamination. So I'm not going to take a bath somewhere where I also took a dump. So, so I keep it all on the floor. I use a towel, as you can see here. I used to use these kind of splat mats that you can get at the medical supply stores, but they're quite expensive. So what I just use is I use a plastic bag, like a garbage bag, especially if I'm about to clean up, or a plastic bag from the store from grocery shopping, and then I put paper towels doubled up over top. It's basically what they do in these pads that they sell at the store for like $5 each. So, and I have my computer here, or my phone, or a book, and I listen to music, or praise and worship music, or a message, or I read, or whatever, and I just try to be as relaxed as possible. This is just coconut oil, and I got this at Sally's Beauty Shop, but I'm sure there's a lot of container stores where you can get it. I will put some of the coconut oil onto the catheter. A little drippy, but oh well. I try not to touch the container to the catheter because I don't want cross-contamination. So, and I put it about 8 inches long, and then, which is what Gerson says to do, because this is not like a water enema. When you're doing a water enema, you can just stick it in a little bit, and some people have bulbs, special bulbs for water enemas, that just go right into your sphincter and just kind of rest nicely there while all the water flushes in, which is great. But this is specifically for a coffee enema. You're trying to deliver the coffee into your liver so that the ducts can open up and the glutathione can be stimulated and your blood can run through your liver and be cleansed. So with the stimulation of the glutathione. Now another thing with doing a coffee enema is it's not like a water, holding water just to moisturize your colon. You're not just cleaning your colon, although coffee is the same pH as your colon and your liver, which is perfect. You're actually trying to trigger the liver to begin this detoxifying process. So when you're taking the coffee in, but ultimately you've got to rest on your side, and coffee is very stimulating. I mean, it's like sometimes you put it in, and especially if you're not accustomed to it, might want to release it right away, and that's why you have this high up inside of you. So first you insert this. You can insert it about 1 inch if you like, and then once the liquid starts flowing, then the liquid will make it easier for you to insert it higher, and you want to get it up like about 8 inches, or as far as you can, so that it goes right up into the colon. Then you can just calmly lay on your side and just relax. You don't need to move around a bit. The only thing I'll do is, so you just lay on your side, and once it's all inside of you, you can move around a little bit then, but it's not really advised. As you can see, it's got a clamp on it, and what you do is you release the clamp and you allow the coffee to slowly flow into you. You stay as relaxed as possible. Bend your knees, just like as if you were in yoga class. And like I said, you can move your arms up to open up your ribs to get the coffee up, right up into your liver area. And if you feel like you need to go, then just close the clamp off again and do some breathing exercises. Sometimes that feeling is just that there are bubbles building up that want to come out so that the coffee can get in. So what I recommend is opening up your rib cage. That's what I do, and lifting up your arms, and then just hold just with your muscles as much as you can, because you'll suddenly feel a release. You'll feel the air going out and the coffee coming in, and it'll do it a few times. It's like it's going up hills, like you're jogging up a hill, and so you'll feel the pressure. But if you just hold it and open up your ribs and do some breathing, then it'll get over that hill, and then it'll get to the next one, and then you have to do it again. You have to do it about 3, maybe 4 times, and you'll just really want to go, but just hold it. This is where the saying "you can't hold water" comes from, because in the past everyone used to be doing enemas. Enemas used to be extremely fashionable to do. All the hospitals used to have high colonics and enema machines, which have now been replaced by fleet enemas. But they found that using coffee in the enemas, which they did, I think accidentally, so the story goes, during World War II, they found that patients healed a lot more quickly. You hold the enema once it's in for 12 to 15 minutes if you can. And I would like to add to this that you can first do some flushing enemas where you hold about 8 ounces of water and just flush out some of the feces, because you don't want to be reabsorbing that, because your colon, your small and large intestine are reabsorbing nutrients, and with the stimulation of the coffee, they're going to absorb more. So if you've got coffee in there and a buildup of mucoid plaque and stuff, you don't want to be reabsorbing those toxins. So if you just give your colon a good basic rinse out of refuse and just leave a tiny bit in there, once you start doing the coffee enema, there will be a place for the toxins to release into, like with just a bit of feces for them to go into and then to flood out with. But that way you're not reabsorbing as many toxins. So you just lay on your side and relax for 15 minutes, read a book, talk to people on the phone. Some people talk to their friends while they're doing it. They get so used to doing it, but it's extremely good for you. So for cleanup, just rinse the bucket, then you wash the bucket and let it drain into the toilet, then you rinse it and let it drain into the toilet. When you're washing it, the bubbles should scour the tube, so make sure that happens. Then spray with MMS or CD or hydrogen peroxide. So after I wash this out and I've rinsed it through with water and I've washed it off again, I spray it with MMS just to keep it disinfected, and then I put it in here. And I use the tip that you get on the hose for the enema buckets. I keep it and I fill it with MMS, or you can use vinegar, or you can use hydrogen peroxide, and you stick the tip in there in the liquid just to keep it continually disinfecting. And then I put it into this plastic bag, which still has more fluid in it, disinfecting it, getting rid of pathogens, and then I put it in a jar. Put it under my sink. So this is where I hang up my enema buckets at the end after I spray them through with MMS, and they just dry out there. And yeah, so that sums up the enema routine. So I hope you found some useful information here, and it'll be beneficial to you for your process. Thank you for watching.